I am franchisee for a number of brands, and I work with a number of brands in my hotels. So you could ask me any points or questions regarding how to develop a location and how I perceive that how one can get into this business and what would be the advantages to that.
I'd be very interested in knowing how you could grow a franchise brand here in India.
Yeah. To my mind, I think, you see, there are, in our country today, we have two kinds of verticals. One is to create a location, one is to have an existing location. And how do you get into a business of franchisor and franchisee? If you have an existing location, which would be a good location, then it's time to shift out from standalone to come into a format where you come into a vertical with a larger network, where your core competency then becomes just selling or managing instead of promoting the entire unit. And some of the best locations today, which after we got independence are lying with very good families, but gradually we are seeing that the decline is there. This is a time for them to switch over and join a bigger network and have better services and deliver, and also have more time for development instead of managing everything. And for new locations, I think that is where again your genius lies. How do you identify a spot? Because to my mind and to my experience, corporations come much later to destinations which are developed, and they cannot afford that space. But that location is made by small businessmen, and they buy that piece of land, they start working on it. Even if they put a small facility there on that highway, somewhere in some odd point, and then gradually a smaller player comes in, then another player comes in, then finally one day you see you have made it into a destination. And that is how the mid-highway services come in. You take a suburb somewhere and you put a small florist shop there. And I think the beauty lies in how you create a market, create a spot, and then that is a time to shake hands with a good franchisor. I think one thing which we need to remember is the inflation. Now, in rental models, in real estate, the escalation is 5% every year. But if you play your cards well, if you partner well with a real estate owner or let's say a franchisee, and explain to him that how he will, or how the landlord, the rental would grow along with the company. I have an experience 10 years ago, I rented one of my premises to a brand. 10 years later, from 50, I became 150. But had I partnered with him on a percentage, on a revenue sharing at that stage, I would have achieved that figure much earlier. I think it's a great deal depends upon how you market your franchise. How do you explain to your partner to be that I'm not joining hands to take your premises, or you're not only going to work with me as my franchisor, but you're going to work with me as a partner. And in that spirit, you need to give him enough margin to make his bread.
Make it interesting for him.
See, because real estate, I don't know, all over the world has absolutely increased. It's not going to come down. If I pay for a piece of earth an X amount of money, I got to make that money to pay that off. But I think the key word to my mind is you have to get into a mold of partnership. That it works. Otherwise, I'm a landlord also. I have a different formats with different brands. But today, even after having fairly a good location of my business, I'm much interested in doing revenue sharing rather than only going for a minimum guarantee.